Have you ever stood up feeling perfectly strong, only to be ambushed by a sudden terrifying lurch of imbalance? It's a heart-stopping moment, a visceral flash of vulnerability that can happen when you simply turn your head too quickly, look over your shoulder to back your car out of the driveway, or step from the predictable, hard surface of a floor onto the soft, yielding grass of your own lawn. You might possess legs that are demonstrably strong, capable of carrying you for miles on a brisk walk or powering you out of a deep, comfortable armchair with what appears to be effortless ease, yet this nagging, insidious, and confidence-stealing unsteadiness persists like an unwelcome shadow. It is a profoundly unsettling feeling, one that makes you second-guess the very activities you once cherished and took for granted. A feeling that whispers insidious words of caution into every single step you take. This internal monologue of doubt can slowly and methodically shrink your world, contracting the boundaries of your life until the mere thought of leaving the perceived safety of your home feels like a monumental and daunting task. If you have been diligently and faithfully performing your squats, your lunges, and your leg lifts, absolutely convinced that building more muscle is the definitive answer to this perplexing problem, and yet you still feel that unnerving, unpredictable wobble, I need you to hear this message loud and clear and absorb it into the very core of your understanding. You are not failing in your efforts. The widespread, almost universally accepted belief that maintaining balance is purely a game of raw leg strength is a dangerously incomplete and misleading story. The real key, the crucial and often missing piece of the puzzle that unlocks lasting, reliable, and automatic stability lies hidden in a place that most conventional exercise programs and fitness regimens completely and utterly overlook. The secret is not about the sheer power of your major muscle groups, but rather about the clarity, speed, and quality of the intricate conversation that is constantly happening between your brain and the soles of your feet. This is your opportunity right now to discover a foundational secret that skilled physical therapists and neurological specialists use to achieve truly remarkable and life-changing results with their clients. A secret that has almost nothing to do with building bigger, bulkier muscles and absolutely everything to do with fundamentally rewiring and upgrading your body's internal command center for movement. The real reason your balance feels off, and it's not your legs. For years, perhaps even for decades, we have been inundated with well-meaning but fundamentally flawed advice regarding the nature of balance. We are gently chided to be more careful in our movements, to always seek out and hold onto a railing for support, or to focus all of our physical energy on strengthening the large, powerful muscles of our lower body, such as the quadriceps and the glutes. While there is undeniably a place for muscular strength in the overall equation of human movement and stability, a strong frame is certainly more resilient than a weak one. This narrow advice tragically misses the master controller of the entire operation, your brain. To truly grasp this concept, imagine for a moment that your legs are a pair of exquisitely engineered, high-fidelity, powerful speakers capable of producing the most incredible, rich, and nuanced sound. They are the pinnacle of audio hardware. Now imagine that the radio station to which these magnificent speakers are tuned, representing your brain and central nervous system, is broadcasting a signal that is riddled with static, plagued by constant interference, and subject to frequent, jarring dropouts. It simply does not matter how technologically advanced or fantastically powerful those speakers are. The music they produce will inevitably be distorted, unreliable, and unpleasant to listen to. This analogy is a near-perfect representation of your balance system. True, lasting, and dependable stability comes not from upgrading the speakers further, but from clearing up that pervasive static, boosting the signal strength, and dramatically improving the lightning-fast, bi-directional conversation between your brain and your body. And herein lies the truly beautiful and empowering truth. Your brain possesses an incredible, almost magical ability to change, adapt, forge new connections, and essentially remap its own circuitry at any age. This remarkable capacity is a well-documented scientific principle known as neuroplasticity. When you intentionally and consciously introduce your brain to a new, unfamiliar challenge, especially a complex movement pattern that it does not immediately recognize or have a pre-existing program for, you effectively force it to snap out of its comfortable, energy-saving autopilot mode. In response to this novel stimulus, it has no choice but to create new, stronger, and more efficient neural pathways to make sense of the incoming information and execute a successful response. Think about the mundane act of driving. The same route to the local grocery store, a route you have taken for 20 years. You could practically perform the entire journey in your sleep, your mind wandering to a dozen other topics. But the very moment a construction detour forces you onto an unfamiliar side street, your entire consciousness shifts. You become hyper-aware. You notice the architecture of new houses, the species of different trees, the specific curve and camber of the road. You are fully and completely engaged in the present moment. That sudden, heightened state of awareness is precisely the wake-up call we are about to deliver to your body's intricate balance system. The two exercises that follow are designed less for the application of brute force and more for the purpose of being that new, unexpected, and slightly perplexing road for your brain. They are a direct and unadulterated line of communication to your body's internal global positioning system, demanding that it pay close, undivided attention in a completely fresh and transformative way. The sensory wake-up call, marching in the dark. Our first movement might sound, on the surface, almost foolishly simple and perhaps even a little strange or counterintuitive. We are going to perform the basic action of marching in place, but with a critical and transformative modification. We will do it with our eyes closed. Now, I can almost hear the alarm bells ringing for some of you, and the internal voice of caution screaming, "March with my eyes closed?" That sounds like a guaranteed recipe for a disastrous fall. You are absolutely and unequivocally right to be cautious, and let me state with the utmost clarity that your physical safety is our non-negotiable, paramount first priority throughout this entire process. Before you even contemplate closing your eyes for a single second, you must first meticulously prepare and position yourself within a securely protected and controlled space. The absolute ideal location for this exercise is inside a narrow hallway where you can easily and instantly reach out with both hands and touch the opposing walls for immediate stabilization. Another excellent option is to stand directly beside a long, heavy kitchen counter or a substantial, sturdy dining table that will not move or tip. The entire goal of this setup is to ensure that you have an immediate, reliable, and unthinking anchor, an external source of support that you can grab onto the very instant you feel the slightest, most subtle hint of a wobble or sway. Once you are securely in place, you can proceed. So, why exactly are we undertaking an activity that feels so profoundly counterintuitive and even a bit risky? The underlying science is both fascinatingly simple and elegantly profound. Your brain, in its constant effort to keep you upright against the relentless force of gravity, relies on a sophisticated collaboration between three key sensory systems. The first, and by a significant margin, the most dominant of these systems, is your vision. It is estimated that up to 70% of the raw data your brain utilizes for maintaining balance comes directly from what your eyes perceive about your position relative to your surroundings. The second critical component is your vestibular system, a complex and marvelously designed set of fluid-filled canals and chambers located in your inner ear, which functions like a highly sophisticated multi-axis gyroscope, constantly sensing the position, orientation, and movement of your head in three-dimensional space. The third, and arguably the most chronically overlooked and undertrained system, is proprioception. This is an immense and intricate network of millions of tiny specialized nerve endings and sensors embedded within your muscles, tendons, ligaments, and joints, with a particularly high concentration in the soles of your feet. These sensors are constantly sending a high-speed stream of pressure, stretch, and position signals to your brain, which then integrates this information to create a dynamic, real-time map of your body in space. Herein lies the brilliant neurological hack of this exercise. When you deliberately and safely close your eyes, you are temporarily switching off that powerful and dominant visual system. This single action forces the other two systems, your inner ear's gyroscopic vestibular apparatus, and the vast network of proprioceptive sensors in your feet and ankles to awaken from their relative slumber and work dramatically, exponentially harder to pick up the sensory slack. It is the neurological equivalent of a surprise fire drill for your entire balance network, testing its readiness and forcing it to perform under pressure. By practicing this simple drill in a completely safe and controlled environment, you are actively sharpening the signals from these two non-visual systems, improving their sensitivity, and systematically training your brain to become less critically reliant on your vision for stability. This, in turn, makes you profoundly more stable and confident when you encounter real-world challenges like navigating a dimly lit room at night, walking across a bumpy, uneven lawn, or dealing with the unexpected visual swirl of a crowded environment. Rewiring your coordination, the backwards tightrope walk. You have now officially begun the foundational process of rewiring and recalibrating your internal balance system. Now that we have successfully delivered that initial sensory wake-up call and nudged your brain out of its state of complacency, it is time to give it the next strange, challenging, and remarkably powerful assignment. This next movement is technically called the tandem backward walk, but for a more intuitive and memorable name, you can think of it as a backwards tightrope walk. This particular exercise is widely considered by rehabilitation specialists to be one of the single most effective and potent exercises in existence for building practical, functional, real-world stability. Its exceptional efficacy stems from the fact that it masterfully combines two distinct and powerful balance challenges into one comprehensive, brain-boosting super exercise addressing multiple facets of your stability system simultaneously. Firstly, by walking in a strict tandem or heel-to-toe pattern, we dramatically and intentionally narrow our base of support. A normal walking gait provides a relatively wide and stable platform, but placing one foot directly behind the other effectively reduces that platform to the width of your foot. This seemingly simple change forces the deep, intrinsic stabilizing muscles located in your hips, your core, and your lower back to fire constantly and make minute, rapid adjustments in order to prevent you from swaying excessively from side to side. It is an intense workout for the very muscles responsible for lateral stability. Secondly, the simple, non-habitual act of walking backward provides a tremendous and unique workout for a critical part of your brain called the cerebellum. Located at the back of the skull, the cerebellum is the undisputed command center for coordination, motor precision, balance, and the execution of smooth, controlled, and fluid movements. Since you cannot see where you are putting your feet when moving backward, your brain is compelled to rely almost entirely on the raw sensory feedback streaming in from those millions of proprioceptive sensors in the joints of your ankles and the soles of your feet. This forced reliance intensely sharpens that internal three-dimensional body map, making it more detailed, more accurate, and more responsive. When you put these two potent concepts together, the narrowed base of support and the non-visual backward movement, you get a singular exercise that concurrently improves side-to-side stability, enhances backward mobility and safety, and dramatically fortifies the high-speed communication loop between your brain and your body. Of course, as with the previous exercise, safety remains the paramount concern. Please perform this exercise exclusively alongside a long, clear kitchen counter, a sturdy handrail, or a solid, uninterrupted wall that you can lightly trail your fingertips along for support at all times. Before you begin, ensure that the path behind you is completely clear of any potential hazards, including area rugs, stray shoes, curious pets, or any other obstacles. Standing tall and composed at one end of your counter or wall, place your hand lightly upon it for gentle, reassuring support. Now, slowly, mindfully, and deliberately take a small step backward with the foot that is closest to the wall, consciously placing your heel so that it makes light contact with the toes of your stationary front foot, as if you were meticulously walking backward on a painted line on the floor. Then, bring your other foot back in the same manner, placing it directly behind the first. Your steps should be small, slow, purposefully, unhurried, and exceptionally controlled. Walk the full length of your counter in this manner, then turn around safely and walk normally, facing forward, back to your starting position. Aim to complete 2 or 3 full sets of this walk. As you become more confident and stable over the course of several days or weeks of consistent practice, you can introduce a powerful and highly effective progression. As you take each backward step, slowly and smoothly, turn your head to look away from the supportive wall, and then bring your gaze forward again before taking the next step. This deliberate head turn adds a significant and direct challenge to your vestibular system, forcing it to reconcile the sensation of head movement with the backward motion of your body, thereby building a truly rock-solid and adaptable sense of balance that will serve you well when navigating the unpredictable and dynamic movements of daily life. The crucial bridge: integrating sensation and building a resilient system. Before we delve into the long-term journey, it is essential to understand a critical intermediate concept that bridges the gap between the 2 exercises we have explored. The marching in the dark exercise primarily targets the reweighting of your sensory systems, forcing your brain to pay more attention to proprioceptive and vestibular input. The backwards tightrope walk then takes this heightened awareness and applies it to a complex coordinated motor task. However, there is a powerful middle ground that focuses on the integration of these systems, specifically the often troublesome relationship between your vestibular system, your inner ear gyroscope, and your visual and proprioceptive systems. A common trigger for those sudden lurches of imbalance is a quick head turn. This happens because the rapid movement sends a strong signal from your inner ear that momentarily conflicts with the relatively stable information coming from your eyes and your feet. Your brain, caught off guard, struggles for a split second to decide which signal to trust, resulting in that frightening sensation of instability. We can train our brain to handle this conflict with more grace and efficiency. Standing in your safe space, perhaps in the corner of a room or near your kitchen counter, with your hands hovering just above the surface for safety, simply stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. From this stable base, slowly and smoothly turn your head to the right, as if looking over your shoulder. Hold for a count of 2 and then slowly return to the center. Then repeat the movement to the left. The key here is the quality of the movement. It should be slow, deliberate, and controlled, not a quick, jerky motion. As you do this, consciously pay attention to the sensations in your body. Notice how your weight might subtly shift on your feet. Feel the muscles in your neck and torso engage to keep your body still while your head moves. By performing this simple, isolated head turn, you are providing your brain with a low-stakes training scenario. You are teaching it to process the head is turning signal from the vestibular system without triggering a full-blown panic response throughout the body. You are desensitizing the system to this specific input, building a more robust and resilient connection between what your inner ear feels and what the rest of your body knows to be true. Once this becomes comfortable, you can progress by narrowing your stance, bringing your feet closer together, which makes the task more challenging. An even more advanced version involves performing these slow head turns while standing in the tandem heel-to-toe stance, always with a supportive surface within immediate reach. This bridging work is incredibly valuable because it directly addresses one of the most common real-world triggers for balance issues, transforming a moment of potential panic into a manageable, familiar sensation that your brain has been trained to handle with poise and confidence. It is the missing link that helps translate the raw sensory improvements from the first exercise into the complex, coordinated stability required by the second, creating a more holistic and integrated improvement in your overall balance. Your journey to lasting stability, what to expect and how to succeed. Incredible and courageous work today. You have successfully stepped outside the conventional boundaries of exercise and have challenged your brain and body in profound and meaningful ways that traditional strength training often completely neglects. Before we conclude this initial session, it is vital that we address a few common and important questions that might be circulating in your mind, because understanding the nature of the process you are embarking upon is every bit as important as performing the movements themselves. A deep understanding will foster patience, prevent discouragement, and ultimately ensure your long-term success. Many people, eager for results, immediately ask, how often should I be practicing these exercises? The answer to this is perhaps one of the most important principles of neuroplastic change. Consistency will always triumph over intensity. Think of this process as being akin to watering a delicate plant. A little bit of water every other day is far more effective and beneficial for its growth than a massive, infrequent soaking once a week that might just wash away the soil. You are aiming to send a consistent, gentle, and persistent signal to your brain that change is required. That is precisely what forges new, durable, and lasting neural pathways. Therefore, aim to practice these movements for just a few minutes at a time, perhaps 3 to 5 days per week. It is not about exhausting yourself. It is about showing up consistently and providing that gentle, repeated stimulus. The most important question of all, however, is this. I feel incredibly wobbly and unstable when I try these, and I can barely do the eye-closed marching for a few seconds. Am I doing it wrong? Let me be as clear and emphatic as I possibly can be. No, you are not doing it wrong. In fact, you are doing it perfectly. That wobbly, uncertain, slightly disoriented feeling is the golden signal of progress. It is the palpable physical sensation of your brain being momentarily confused by a novel task, forcing it to pay extremely close attention and causing it to actively work overtime to gather new sensory data and draw a new, more accurate and higher resolution map for your movement. Please, I implore you, learn to reframe and even embrace the wobble. It is not a sign of failure, it is the feeling of active learning and positive change taking place within your nervous system. If you can only manage to stand with your eyes closed for 3 seconds before needing to stabilize yourself, that is your starting line. Acknowledge it, and more importantly, celebrate it, because in that 3-second wobble, your journey to reclaiming better balance has officially and powerfully begun. You might start to feel a subtle but profound difference in your overall confidence in as little as 1 to 2 weeks of consistent practice. Perhaps you will notice that you are not consciously thinking about your feet quite so much when you turn around in the kitchen, or you might catch yourself stepping off a curb with a newfound sense of ease that you hadn't felt in years. Significant measurable improvements in the exercises themselves, such as being able to march for a full minute with your eyes closed, or walk the entire length of the counter backward without wavering, can take several weeks or even a couple of months to achieve. So be patient and most of all, be kind and compassionate with yourself. You are gently and systematically undoing years, possibly decades, of old ingrained movement habits and sensory dependencies. To solidify your commitment and to build a sense of community in this endeavor, I warmly invite you to share your experience in the comments section below. Which of the 2 primary movements did you find more challenging? Was it the sensory deprivation of the march or the complex coordination of the backward walk? Sharing your personal journey not only helps you to process your own experience, but also helps everyone else feel less alone and more motivated in their own efforts. Remember this above all else: your balance is not a fixed, immutable trait that is set in stone. It is a dynamic and adaptable skill. And just like any other skill, it can be sharpened, improved, and fully reclaimed with the right kind of dedicated mindful practice. You absolutely possess the power to retrain your brain, to rewrite your body's old stories of instability, and to take back your confidence, one strange, wobbly, but incredibly powerful step at a time.